Welcome back, Queens. Have you ever noticed how silence can be the loudest answer? How walking away without a word can shake a person more than 1,000 arguments ever could? There is a move so powerful, so final, that once you make it, he will never recover. No warnings, no last words, just one move. And suddenly, the power shifts. Suddenly, he realizes something is missing. But by then, it's already too late. Seneca once said, "Hang on to your youthful enthusiasms. You will be able to use them better when you are older." But what happens when that enthusiasm, that love, that devotion was wasted on someone who never truly saw it? What happens when the fire you kept burning for him was taken for granted? You already know the answer. You felt it in the late-night silence, in the unanswered messages, in the slow, sinking realization that you were holding on to something that wasn't holding on to you. He thought he had time. He thought you would always be there, that no matter how much he neglected, ignored, or overlooked you, you would always be waiting. Because that's what you did, right? You gave chances. You explained yourself. You showed up time and time again, believing that one day he would understand. One day he would choose you the way you chose him. But he didn't, and that is where he failed. A man never realizes what he had until it's gone. Not when you're still explaining, not when you're still hoping, not when you're still fighting for him. No, he only understands when the noise stops. When your voice, your presence, your love disappears, not with anger, not with a fight, but with something far more powerful, your absence. Imagine the sun. It doesn't beg anyone to notice it. It doesn't chase. It simply rises. And those who turn their backs on it, they are the ones left in the cold, the ones who only realize its warmth after it's gone. That is exactly what happens when you make the one move he never saw coming. When you stop chasing, stop proving, stop explaining. That is when the weight of his choices will come crashing down. He thought you needed him, that you would always be the one reaching out, trying to fix what he kept breaking. He thought he could take his time, play his games, and still have you waiting. But what he never expected was this: a woman who wakes up one day and decides she is done. A woman who walks away with no words, no warnings, no second chances. A woman who understands that her power was never in making him see her worth. It was in seeing it herself. And now, it's time. Time to stop explaining, stop waiting, stop giving pieces of yourself to someone who never deserved them in the first place. Because you are not just some option he can return to when he's ready. You are not a backup plan. You are not an afterthought. You are the storm he never saw coming. The fire he can never control. The sun he took for granted, only to realize he can never touch it again. This is the moment everything changes. The moment you step into a power so undeniable that he won't just regret losing you. He will feel it in the very core of his being. Because no matter how many hands he holds, how many lips he kisses, how many distractions he chases, he will never find another you. And when he finally understands that, when the weight of it all sinks in, that is when he will break. But you won't care, because by then you will be standing so tall, so radiant, so untouchable, that the only thing left for him to do is watch. Queens, this is your awakening. The moment you stop asking for love that should have been freely given. The moment you realize that the only validation you ever needed was your own. No more waiting, no more proving, no more playing small. Because a queen does not lower herself to be chosen. A queen does not beg. A queen does not wait in the background while a man decides if she is enough. Number A. Queen rises. A queen reigns. A queen walks away with grace, with power, with the kind of presence that makes him realize, too late, that he lost the one thing he could never replace. Write this in the comments and claim it. I do not beg. I do not chase. I reign. Let the world know that from this moment forward, you are done waiting, done explaining, done breaking yourself for a man who was never strong enough to stand beside you. And if this message reminded you of your power, like this video and subscribe. Because we are here, building an empire of unstoppable women and queens, we rise together. Number 1. The day you go silent will be the loudest day of his life. Have you ever noticed how people only start listening when it's too late? How the moment you stop talking, stop explaining, stop fighting for them to see your worth, suddenly everything feels different? He thought he had time. He thought you would always be there, filling the silence, reaching out, trying to fix what he kept breaking. But the day you go silent, that will be the loudest day of his life. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." And now it's his turn to learn, because he never listened when you spoke. He never valued your words, your emotions, your presence. He brushed off your concerns, ignored your needs, and acted as if you would always be waiting. But silence is not something he can ignore. It will crawl into his mind, echo in his heart, and make him question everything. At first, he won't notice. He will think nothing has changed. He will believe you are still there, just waiting for the right moment to speak again. But as the hours turn into days, and the days into weeks, reality will hit him like a storm. He will pick up his phone, expecting a message that never comes. He will replay old conversations, looking for signs he missed. He will wonder why the attention he once took for granted has disappeared. And that is when he will realize the silence is not just a pause. It is the end. Imagine a song he always played in the background, one that filled his world without him even noticing. Then, one day, the music stops. The silence is sudden, heavy, impossible to ignore. He turns up the volume, but nothing plays. He tries to sing along, but the melody is gone. That is what your silence will feel like. He never truly appreciated your presence until it vanished. And now, no matter what he does, he cannot bring back the sound of a love he never cherished. He expected anger. He expected a fight. He expected you to prove, one last time, that he mattered. But what he never expected was this: a woman who walks away without a single word. A woman who does not beg, does not explain, does not waste another second proving her worth. Because the moment you stop talking, you take back every ounce of power he thought he had over you. And now, queens, this is where everything changes. Because you are not here to wait for him to understand. You are not here to explain why you deserved better. You are here to step into your power, into your strength, into the life that was always meant for you. He will feel the loss. He will feel the weight of his own mistakes. But you will feel nothing but freedom. Because the moment you stop speaking is the moment you start living. And from this moment on, your silence will say what your words never could. Write this in the comments and claim it. My silence will say what my words never could. Number 2. He thought you'd always be his safe place, until he realized he locked himself out. Have you ever seen a man who thinks he has the key to a door, until the day he realizes it no longer opens? He thought he could walk in and out of your life whenever he pleased. He thought no matter how far he wandered, no matter how much he neglected you, no matter how many times he made you question your worth, you would always be there, his safe place. But what happens when a man who once had everything suddenly finds himself standing outside, locked out, with no way back in? That's when he feels the kind of regret that never fades. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And right now, his thoughts are filled with arrogance. He thinks you are waiting. He believes you are still holding space for him, still leaving a light on in case he ever decides to return. But what he doesn't know, what he never expected, is the moment you stop being his home. The moment you stop waiting, stop hoping, stop making excuses for the way he treated you. That is when the ground beneath him shifts. That is when he realizes the door he once took for granted has been locked for good. He wanted the freedom to leave without consequence. He wanted the best of both worlds, to keep you as a backup while he entertained distractions. But love does not work that way. Respect does not work that way. And now, he's about to feel what it truly means to lose you. Because the thing about a safe place, once it's gone forever. Imagine a man who owns a house with the most beautiful, warm fireplace. Every time he comes home, it greets him with light, with comfort, with warmth. But one day, he stops appreciating it. He forgets what it feels like to come home to something real, something secure. He walks away believing he can always return. And then, one night, when he finally feels the cold creeping in, when he finally misses the warmth he ignored for so long, he comes back, only to find that the house is no longer his. The lights are off, the door is locked, and no matter how hard he knocks, there is no answer. That is the moment he realizes he was never entitled to that warmth. He was supposed to cherish it, and now he never will again. This is what happens when you walk away without a word. No warnings, no last goodbye, just the weight of your absence. He thought you were always going to be there, that you would always be the one reaching out, forgiving, waiting. But now, he's standing in the cold, realizing that he made the worst mistake of his life. Because no matter who he turns to now, no matter how many arms he falls into, none of them will ever feel like you. None of them will ever give him what you did. But you are done being the woman who waits. You are done being his safe place. Because a queen does not hold the door open for a man who walked away. A queen does not stand in the cold, hoping he chooses her. A queen builds a palace so grand, so untouchable, that by the time he realizes what he lost, he is nothing more than a stranger standing at the gates, begging for a way back in. Queens, this is your time, the time to take back your power, the time to show him, without a single word, that you were never just an option. You were the one thing he should have never let go. And now he will live with the truth that he locked himself out of your life. And you will never look back. Write this in the comments and claim it. I was his safe place, but now I am untouchable. And if this message spoke to your soul, like this video and subscribe. Because we are here, building an empire of unstoppable women and queens, we rise together. Number 3. The mirror will become his worst enemy. Have you ever noticed that a man can run from everything, his mistakes, his regrets, even the love he took for granted? But there is one thing he can never escape: the mirror. No matter how far he goes, no matter how many distractions he chases, every single day he will have to face himself. And when he looks into his own eyes, when the silence of his own choices surrounds him, that is when the truth will hit him the hardest. He thought he was in control. He thought he could leave, move on, start fresh, and never look back. But what he doesn't realize yet is that his biggest enemy will not be your absence. It will be his own reflection. Because the moment he sees himself for what he truly is, a man who let go of something rare, something irreplaceable, he will feel a kind of regret that no words can fix. Seneca once said, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today." And that is exactly what he did. He expected you to wait. He believed he had time, that he could walk away, chase something else. And if things didn't work out, you would still be there. But what he never expected was this: you didn't wait. You didn't break. You didn't shrink into the background, hoping he would return. You moved forward, and now all he has left is a past he can never rewrite. Imagine a man standing in front of a mirror. At first, he sees only what he wants to see. A man who made his own choices, a man who thought he had won. But as time passes, as he loses himself in meaningless moments, the reflection changes. The weight of his decisions starts to show. He looks into his own eyes, and instead of pride, he sees emptiness. Instead of confidence, he sees doubt. Instead of a man who had everything, he sees a man who threw everything away. That is the moment he will understand, the moment he will realize that his biggest mistake was not losing you. It was believing that losing you wouldn't matter, because now your name is no longer his to call. Your love is no longer his to feel. And the version of you that once fought for him, she is gone. But you are not standing in the past, waiting for him to wake up. You are walking into a future so bright, so powerful, that the only thing left for him to do is watch. And as he stares at himself in that mirror, he will know. He let go of something he will never find again. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop questioning your worth. The moment you stop waiting for a man to see what was always right in front of him. The moment you understand that you were never meant to be an option, a backup plan, or a second thought. You were meant to reign. A queen does not stand in the shadows, hoping to be seen. A queen rises, knowing she is already enough. Write this in the comments and claim it. I am the reflection he will never escape. Let the world know that from this moment forward, you are done explaining, done proving, done waiting. And if this message reminded you of your power, like this video and subscribe, because we are here, building an empire of unstoppable women and queens. We rise together. Number 4. The spotlight he wanted will burn him alive. He wanted the attention. He wanted the spotlight. He wanted to be admired, desired, chased. But what happens when the very thing he craved turns against him? What happens when the light he ran toward becomes the fire that burns him alive? Right now, he thinks he won. He thinks he made the right choice. He thinks you are somewhere in the shadows, still waiting, still watching, still hoping he turns back. But he has no idea what's coming. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." And his ambition? It was small. He thought he could trade depth for excitement, loyalty for games, a diamond for dust. He wanted a world where he could be the center of attention, where he could feel powerful without ever having to be strong. But now, he's standing in the light he fought so hard for, and he's starting to feel its heat. Because nothing in that world is real. The admiration fades, the thrill dies, And when the lights go down, when the crowd disappears, when there is no one left to feed his ego, that is when the truth will hit him. He lost the one person who saw him beyond the illusion. And now, he is alone in the spotlight, and it is burning him alive. He walked away believing he was walking towards something better. Maybe he thought she would be easier. Maybe he thought love should never require effort. Maybe he wanted to escape the mirror you held up to him, the one that showed him who he really was. But here's the thing about a man who trades substance for shadows. One day, he wakes up and realizes he is surrounded by nothing. No depth, no warmth, no real love. And by then, the one thing that was ever real, you, is already gone. Imagine a moth chasing the flame, fascinated by its glow, believing it holds something special, something magical. But what happens when it gets too close? It burns, and that is exactly what is happening to him. The attention he craved is turning cold. The hands that once reached for him now feel empty. The admiration that once lifted him up is starting to suffocate him. Because what he left behind was real, and what he ran toward was nothing but smoke. And you are not the woman who waits. You are not sitting in the dark, hoping he turns around. You have stepped into a light of your own, a light that does not burn, a light that does not fade, a light that does not belong to him. Because you were never meant to stand in his shadow, you were meant to shine. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you stop wondering if he will ever realize what he lost. The moment you stop questioning why he didn't see your worth. The moment you understand that he was never strong enough to handle your fire in the first place. You do not need to prove anything to him. You do not need to make him see. You just need to rise so high that when he finally looks up, he knows he can never reach you again. Write this in the comments and claim it. I shine on my own, and he will burn in the light he chose. Let the world know that you are done chasing, done proving, done waiting. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had, like this video and subscribe. Because we are here, building an empire of unstoppable women. And queens, we rise together. Number 5. One day, he will search for your eyes in a crowd, and they won't be looking back. Have you ever seen a man searching for something he once had, only to realize it's already gone? The moment when his eyes scan the room, looking for a familiar presence, hoping to catch the gaze of the woman he once took for granted. But she's not looking back. That moment will crush him more than anything else ever could. Not your words, not your anger, not even your absence. The real pain begins when he finally wants to see you, and he realizes you've already moved on. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." And for too long, he thought he had control. He thought he could leave, take his time, explore his options, and still come back to you when he pleased. He believed you would always be there, always waiting, always hoping. But he didn't see it coming. The moment you decided to stop looking back, the moment you stepped into your own life, your own power, your own greatness. He was so sure of himself. He believed that if he ever missed you, he could just find you again. That if he ever regretted, he could just walk back into your world like nothing happened. But life doesn't work like that. A woman who learns her worth does not stay in the same place, waiting for a man to recognize it. A woman who finds her strength does not look back at the past, hoping it will change. And now, when he looks for you, all he will find is an empty space where you once stood. Imagine a man lost in a sea of faces, searching for the one woman who once lit up his world. He will go to the places you used to go. He will look for the same energy, the same warmth, the same love. But no matter how many eyes he meets, none of them will hold the fire yours once did. He will realize too late that what he walked away from was not just a woman, it was a once-in-a-lifetime presence. And now, that presence belongs to someone else, to the world, to herself. One day, he will sit in silence and feel it, the weight of his choices pressing down on him like a stone. He will remember the way you looked at him, the way your eyes held so much love, so much belief in him. He will remember the way you smiled, the way your presence made everything feel right. And when he finally understands what he lost, it will be a lesson he will carry for the rest of his life. But you won't care, because by then you will have grown beyond him. You will have built a life that is too full, too radiant, too powerful for regrets. The love you gave will no longer belong to a man who couldn't see it. It will belong to you, to the future you are creating, to the happiness that is waiting for you ahead. Queens, this is not just about making him regret. This is about stepping into your true self, the woman who no longer waits, no longer begs, no longer looks back, the woman who commands attention without asking for it, who radiates confidence without seeking approval, the woman who no longer wonders if he will ever realize what he lost, because she is too busy winning. Write this affirmation in the comments and claim it. He will search for my eyes, but I will never look back. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done explaining, done giving your light to a man who was too blind to see it. And if this message spoke to you, if it reminded you of the power you have always had inside you, like this video and subscribe, because we are here, working hard to bring you the truth, the strength, and the lessons that will set you free. Queens, we do not wait. We rise. Number 6. The hands that once held him up are now too strong to hold him back. Have you ever noticed how the same hands that lifted him up, held him close, and fought for him are now the very hands that refuse to reach back? The hands that once wiped away his tears, the hands that held onto him when he was falling, those hands are no longer his to hold. And that is the moment he will feel the weight of his choices. There was a time when he leaned on you, when your strength was his anchor, when your love carried him through his worst days. He knew he could always count on you, that no matter what, you would be there, lifting him, guiding him, standing by his side, even when he didn't deserve it. But what happens when the one who always lifted suddenly lets go? When the woman who once held everything together finally decides she's done? He never thought about that, did he? He believed your love was endless, that your patience had no limits. But even the strongest hands grow tired of holding on to something that doesn't hold them back. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And what were his ambitions? To have your love without earning it, to take your loyalty for granted, to drain your energy while giving you nothing in return. He was never afraid of losing you until you walked away. And now he stands alone, realizing too late that you were the only one who ever stood beside him. Think of a bridge, a solid, unshakable bridge that connects two places, allowing safe passage. You built that bridge with your love, your time, your sacrifice. You were the foundation, the support, the strength that carried the weight of everything. But what happens when the bridge is no longer maintained? When it is neglected, ignored, taken for granted? One day, it crumbles, and once it's gone, there is no way back. That is exactly what has happened. He thought you would always be there to catch him, always be the one making sure he never fell. But now the bridge is gone, and he is left standing on the other side, realizing that there is no path back to you. He will reach for you. He will expect you to be there, just like always. But this time, when he stumbles, there will be no hands to catch him. This time, when he falls, he will feel the impact of what he lost. Because you're no longer the woman who bends, who waits, who holds on to what does not serve her. You're no longer the woman who carries the weight of someone who refuses to carry himself. And this is where everything changes. Because now, those same hands that once held him up are too strong to hold him back. You have outgrown the version of yourself that settled, that sacrificed, that put him first, while losing yourself in the process. You are no longer trying to save him, no longer waiting for him to realize what he had. Because the truth is, he had his chance. And now, the only thing left for him is the cold realization that you are no longer his to depend on. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you step into the power you always had. The moment you take back everything you once gave away so freely. He thought you would always be there, that you would always reach for him. But he was wrong. You're no longer the woman who begs, who pleads, who carries dead weight. You're the woman who rises, who builds, who becomes unstoppable. Write this in the comments and claim it. My hands are too strong to hold him back. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done proving, done carrying what was never meant to be yours forever. And if this message reminded you of your strength, like this video and subscribe. We are here, creating powerful, life-changing lessons because queens, we rise together. Number 7. His name will become just another word, while yours becomes a legend. Have you ever noticed how certain names lose their meaning over time? How a name that once made your heart race now feels like just another word, empty, powerless, forgettable. That is exactly what will happen to him. Right now he thinks he left a mark on you. He believes his name will always carry weight, that no matter where life takes you, he will always exist in the corners of your mind. But what he doesn't realize is this. One day his name will mean nothing to you, while yours will become something unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." And what was his ambition? It was weak. It was selfish. He wanted control, attention, validation, but he never understood the value of what he had. He thought he was the prize. He thought walking away would leave you in ruins. But what he never saw coming was the moment you would rise, the moment you would step into your power so fully that his name fades into the background while yours shines brighter than ever. Think of an ancient city, once grand, once full of life, but abandoned, left to decay. That is his name. A place that once held meaning, now nothing more than ruins covered in dust, forgotten by time. And you are not the ruins. You are the empire still standing, the monument that people look up to, the legacy that only grows stronger. He thought you would always hold on to his memory. He believed that no matter what he did, no matter how much he neglected you, ignored you, or made you feel small, you would never be able to erase him. But the moment you stop saying his name, stop remembering, stop caring, he will feel it. And that is a pain far worse than any words could ever deliver. Right now, he believes he has control. He thinks that even if he walks away, a part of you will always be his. But what happens when he finally looks for you and finds nothing? No emotion, no reaction, no trace of the woman who once gave him everything? That is when reality will hit him harder than he ever expected. Because the moment you stop looking back, the moment you stop carrying his name in your heart, that is the moment you take back your power. You will become something he never thought possible, untouchable, a legend in your own right. The woman he once had, but will never have again. The woman he compares every other to, but can never replace. The woman whose name lingers in his thoughts, while his own name fades into silence. And queens, this is your time. No more holding on to memories that only bring you pain. No more giving space in your heart to a man who never truly valued you. His chapter in your story is over. His name, it no longer holds weight. But yours will be written in bold, in gold, in fire. Because you are not just a name in someone's past. You are a force, a presence, a legend in the making. Write this in the comments and claim it. His name is just a word. Mine is a legacy. Let the world know that you are done looking back. You are done remembering what was never meant to last. You are stepping into the future with a name that will never be forgotten. And if this message reminded you of your power, like this video and subscribe. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, the strength, and the lessons that will make sure you never forget. You were never meant to be just another name. You were meant to reign. Number 8. The road back to you is gone, and he knows it's his own damn fault. Have you ever seen a man try to retrace his steps, only to find the path he once walked no longer exists? He thought the road back to you would always be open, that no matter how far he wandered, how much time passed, how many mistakes he made, you would always be there, waiting. But what happens when he finally looks back, only to realize the door has closed, the bridge has burned, and the road has disappeared beneath his feet? What happens when he understands, too late, that there is no way back? Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions," and his ambition, it was weak. He thought he could replace you, that love like yours was something he could trade in and find again. He believed he had the luxury of time, that he could put you on hold while he explored, while he played, while he took you for granted. But now he has to live with the weight of his own choices. At first, he felt free. He thought walking away from you meant he was moving towards something better. He told himself you would still be there, that if things didn't work out, he could always return. But life has a way of teaching painful lessons. And now, as he looks for you, as he searches for your love, your warmth, your presence, he finds nothing. The road he was so sure of is gone, and all he's left with is regret. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a river. He once had a bridge, strong and steady, leading him to everything he ever needed. But instead of crossing it, he set fire to it, believing he would never need it again. And now, as he stands there, watching the flames turn to ashes, he realizes the truth. He cannot rebuild what he destroyed. No amount of apologies, no amount of regret, no amount of wishing will bring that bridge back. And that is where he is now. He underestimated you. He thought you were the kind of woman who waits, who forgives endlessly, who keeps the door open no matter how many times it's slammed in her face. But what he didn't see coming was your awakening. The moment you realized that the love you were giving was never meant for a man who couldn't cherish it. The moment you decided that your future was no longer tied to his indecision. The moment you stopped being an option and became something untouchable. And now he will feel it. Every single day he will feel it. He will try to find another you, only to come up empty. He will try to relive what he had with you, only to realize it cannot be recreated. He will sit with his thoughts, remembering your voice, your touch, your love, and he will know he lost the one thing he can never get back. And the worst part? He has no one to blame but himself. But you. You are no longer the woman who waits. You are no longer the woman who looks back, hoping he sees your worth. Because now you see it for yourself. You have become the woman who moves forward with grace, with power, with a kind of presence that no man can ignore. And while he is stuck in his regret, you are too busy building a life so radiant, so powerful, that he wouldn't even recognize the woman you've become. Queens, this is your moment. The moment you step into the life you were always meant to live. The moment you stop questioning your worth and start walking in it. The moment you turn pain into power, silence into strength, and heartbreak into the very thing that fuels your rise. Write this in the comments and claim it. The road back to me no longer exists. Let the world know that you are done waiting, done explaining, done hoping for a man who made the wrong choice. And if this message reminded you of the power you've always had, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are here, working hard to bring you the truth, the lessons, and the fire you need to rise. Because queens, we do not wait, we reign.